So not B is the one I moved. One of the ones I moved. And it's pretty awesome. That's actually, yeah, that's what it looks like. The not B people. They live on Pandora, which is a fake planet, fake seventh moon of a fake planet, third sun, the opposite solar system. It's really kind of, I was going to say cool, but boring might be a word. And basically, in the movie, they speak in not B, and pretty soon after that, they're like, hey, get the site, try to learn this language. The guy who actually made it, oh wow, that's awesome. And so a friend of mine, now a friend of mine, not.org, I joined the second day, it was around this is a screenshot of the site. And if you notice, that's me. So I made a dictionary for it pretty early on. That was over Christmas. That was North Carolina. I hate North Carolina. No offense to sorry. Anyway, and I'm like, what can I do with 14 hours of my day every day for the next 2 months? So that's how I happened, that's how NLP happened, and it's pretty sweet. Yeah, moving on. That is really cool for a couple of reasons. I'm just going to go through them. I know some of you guys aren't linguists. It has a tripartite case system, which I think only happens in one of the languages we know of. Here we use the terms ergative and accusative because they're more common. That happens in Basque. There was a famous polyglot in the 1860s. He was like 15 languages, tried to learn Basque and said, I'm convinced that they speak to each other, but I don't know how. And they use ergative tense, and so it's really cool in that you have wei yin means I bind, but well yin koti means I bind anyway, you notice there's a different marker on the wei on the suffix there, which is really weird. It only happens when there's an object. So it actually notices an object with a verb. In English you don't do this, you say, you know, I shoot him, I doesn't care. The changes in that. So that's called very good. And that's really, really fun. So you guys are really cool. When I have 13-year-olds talk to me and say, hey, can you explain, you know, the Boston case system? That's awesome. Anyway, it has some really cool consonants. Because Paul Romer was told by James Cameron, I want this language to be possible to be learned, human, but really freaking weird. And so they gave it adjectives, which happen in North American Indian languages, a few other Indian languages like everything else. There's actually a really funny thing on the Conlang message board, an acronym we use called a natural language has done it, except worse. New Guinea's probably used the example for all of this. Anyway, so they have adjectives, and they sound really weird, so out would be two adjectives. Atike means land, and it's just, you can't, it's not different from, say, so Tim, this percentage means rock, because it means something else entirely, which I can't say. So Tim means rock, but Tim means the plural, you know, rocks. So it's different from just a normal stop. We don't really have these. I've noticed them in a few dialects of English, particularly Southern English, when they want to talk about something, really, you know, in a condescending fashion. They use adjectives. So there's this girl in California who says, "Do the job." That really annoyed me. But that's an adjective. You know, there it is. With a pop, with a good description. Oh, it has another really cool thing. Those R's. So I can't do it. It sounds like that. And yeah. So here's the constrained phonology. So it has only a few sounds you can make. Now, when you make a language, you have to say to yourself, well, should I just use every single possible sound that's possible? And the answer is obviously no, because then it would be ridiculous. And so there's only a few sounds, and this is part of what it makes a good common language. You constrain the phonology. So in English, you can't say, for instance, moyen. You can't start a word with a ni. You also can't go as a word in English. This wouldn't work very well. We'd probably change that to kenaganakna. And there's only 6 vowels, which is pretty good. Actually, there's really only 5. But yeah. So that's one of the parts of making a good conlang. Some other cool things that happen in not be, just describing something in not be that's cool, is lenition. So as I said earlier, things change in the plural form. So ep means fire, but mitep would mean in the fire, and that's a lenition process. So what happens is that the plural, instead of adding an S, like we had an S, dog, dogs, they change the first consonant to a different consonant. And it's really regular, but it's hell of annoying. Because you'll be talking to someone, and you'd be like, oh, you used a different, So that happens. It also happens really annoyingly. For instance, mitep could mean in the fire, but it could also mean in the fires, because me is actually a preposition that causes lenition. That happens. Language is confusing. I can't think of a good example in English, but there are thousands. So at the beginning of the lecture I said kalt e ma elan. That was actually wrong, because I started with a global stop in elan, elan. And there shouldn't be one because there are more than one of you are my friends, I'm assuming. I hope. Awesome. Another interesting thing about constructed languages is that generally you don't have all the words you would like, because someone has to make up every single word for every single thing. And so you have to talk around words. So you have to say, okay, well, what I mean is the small rock that's kind of white that's made from the ocean, instead of saying salt. And that's actually what this guy tries to do here. This is a blog by a friend of mine. So that entire middle paragraph is him trying to describe salt. It worked very well, but it took me 30 minutes to read, and I didn't like that. But, yeah, that happens. There are 1,300 words in Nakvi, the Avatar language. So we have to do that a lot. I'll get into how we know that in a bit. Another really cool thing that happens in Conlangs is you get to basically make a world for it, because language sort of reflects culture in a few ways. And another really cool thing is that language reflects time. So say you have, I don't know, like trying to think of a good, okay, whatever, I can't think of an example. There's derivational versus inflectional morphology. So derivational morphology is used to create a new word. And so here we have ti, and ti is used to create a word out of something else. So it makes an abstract concept. So you have tipaum from question. So paum means ask. So I'd say oe paum, futa, I asked that. But tipaum would mean I ask a question. So oe the paum tipaumet would be I ask a question. And so you see how it's related, but it's not. And actually the T prefix, which makes a noun, we can't use. Only Paul Fromer, the guy who made the language, can use it. Because if we use it, it might come up with a different root altogether. You know, like, could T-bound mean question, or could it mean a short conversation? You know, or could it mean a very specific question? We don't know, because its point is to make an abstract noun. But where that could go depends upon the word entirely. And so this is the sort of thing where in the language, these words already have had to exist 100 years ago or something, even though it wasn't 100 years. So we pretend there's a history to the language and that we can't just make new stuff up. It's a bit hard to grasp. I hope you all do. Maybe I should say it again. Yeah, so to count, okay, would be evil. So that's a word which is now in the language, because Paul Farmer said to count means evil, from count bad. But why wasn't that, you know, badness as in error? It's evil, not error. So this is the sort of thing which we couldn't have done as a group. We'd have to say, okay, the job is that's the linguist's job, so let's just pretend it's a proto-not be, and then take counting's in there. And that's really fun. This is actually a screenshot from my dictionary. I made a dictionary. It's pretty crap. I like it. Anyway, so let's talk about the creation of the language for a bit. So basically, there was the movie Avatar. Paul Farmer was hired 4 years before to make a language, which is weird because he was in a business school for 20 years and then had just retired. But contacts, and he lives in UCLA. Well, he lives in LA, so that'll do it. But he took 4 years creating the language, and it's pretty good. It was used in the movie. All the fans who saw the movie generally saw it for the movie, and a few of them decided, let's learn the language. I know of one guy who saw the movie just for the language, which I think is really odd. But he's great. He made the grammar for the language, and he's really on top of things. Anyway, so after the movie, what happened is that the fans were like, well, where do we go now? And so there was a blog that had a list of words from that book, the Activist Survival Guide. And the words from that book was kind of funny, because in the back there was a whole list. There were like 10 pages of just, FU field, nothing else, no part of speech, no stress marked. And it was horrible. And it was horrible because Paul Frommer had sent someone who made the book an email 2 years earlier with a word list, and they never told him it was going in the book. And so we, right from the start, had information full of errors that we had to figure out all of a sudden. And so we were sitting there being like, well, this must be this must make it an abstract noun. This must be a T something, or that's got to be wrong because it's wrong here. Oh no, this is horrible. I don't know what to do. And that was how it was for a while. For months we debated. I remember I was on the side of the team that debated that sway on meant I will fly, and it became instead of swan, which meant fly, because A is the future infix. And this was debated for a month and a half before we got an email from Paul saying, oh, by the way, guys, Richard is wrong. It's sway on fly, which sucked for me, but oh well. So we had this illegal list of words from the movie, so it wasn't like we sat watching the movie 80 times in cinema, going, oh, I think that's a word. Oh, I think that's a word. Although some of us did that anyway. I saw it 8 times in cinema. Let's pretend I didn't. No, I saw it 9 now. I saw it in August. It was really good. There's extra scenes. You should go see it. Right. So this was the forum we set up. That's my avatar right now. That's not what I actually transfer into. But yeah, so this is the forum. It's huge. There's so many subgroups, including subgroups for people who are crazy. Sorry, everyone who's watching this. Like real life tribe people who want to go up into the jungle and create their own tribe and dress in blue. They exist. They frighten me. There's also subgroups for people who speak Hungarian, Czech, Russian, Estonian, Japanese, Chinese, Latvian. I mean, everything you could possibly think of. There are so many other languages speaking this, which is really, really awesome. And that's where everything happened for a long time. There were other sites. We swiftly extinguished them with our massive, massive site. We got 10,000 hits a day. We still get around 2,000 hits a day, 30 members a day. We'll be 5,000 members right now, which is really sweet, actually. That's kind of cool. Yeah, and so that's the Not Be forum. Okay, so this was a camp I just got back from. I'm there in the white sweater. It was in California. It was for the experts of Learn Not Be. So there was around 20 of us who managed to get out there. The girl next to me came from Sweden. There's 2 guys. The guy in the corner there, he came from France. So did he. So that was really cool. Like, this is a worldwide phenomenon. Everyone else came from America. And yeah, so we all met together for a weekend and talked about grammar for 8 hours a day, every day. It was awesome. Like, we were sitting in a room, basically sitting there being like, okay, what's the transitivity of con? Is it transitive or intransitive or ditransitive? It doesn't take the modal construction. Which confused the hell out of most of the people there, but it was still really, really fun. The reason I brought this picture up is because in the early days we had some really interesting stuff going on with politics. If you do anything in applied linguistics, anything to do with an actual language, you're going to run into people who want it to be this way and people who want it to be that way. A good example is prescriptivists, who will tell you that you can't intensify with prepositions. And that definitely happened in the early days of the forum. So there was a few different camps of people. There were the Ace-Kaum, as we would call them, the morons, who would go around creating words for love that starts with B, and there's no B in Not Be, so that was really hard. William Annis, the guy who was brilliant at languages, who only went to film to see that guy, he at one point was told on the wiki, you're the one who killed the word for love in Not Be. It was really, really funny. We have one now.